On the way, a fashion fundraiser for first responders. We'll tell you about how the equipment that they're raising money for can help people with PTSD.
The reality of being a first responder is that it can take a toll on mental health. The fashion event is helping raise money to make strides on PTSD. We welcome Wilson Kwan, founder of First Response to Fashion, as well as Dr. Suzette Bremel-Phillips, director of Heroes in Mind Advocacy and Research Consortium. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Corey.
Good morning.
Why don't we start off, Wilson? How did First Response to Fashion get started?
We got it all started years ago when I used to play a lot of sports, a lot of team sports, and a lot of our guys that graduated, many of them became first responders.
Okay.
But we'd always still stay together, right? Like we'd always get together for drinks. But slowly, after quite a few years, things started to change. They wouldn't come out that much, and it was weird because some of their significant others would actually say, hey, Wilson, you know what? I don't recognize this person anymore.
Really?
And then it hit a tipping point where one of our friends actually took his own life. And that triggered something in me to say, you know what, I got to do something. I got to make a change somehow. And the Glen Rose had brought in a piece of equipment that was, it was advertised in the media, and we saw this thing, and this piece of equipment was being used over in the Netherlands to treat post-traumatic stress disorder for military personnel, and had a very high success rate. So I walked in there and I basically said, hey, can we, how do I get this to work for first responders?
Okay. And
and they basically said, well, we can't use that machine yet. We don't have the researchers, we don't have the therapists to use it. So I said, how do we do it? And they were like, well, you'd need money. And so I basically just said, okay, let's get something. And that's how it really started. I just started it that way.
Wow, okay, so quite the story. And Doctor, how are the funds raised making a difference?
It's incredible, actually, to see what's happened since Wilson visioned what could happen here in Edmonton. So the funds that he first raised actually catalyzed the first grant that we did and the first study that we did utilizing the equipment at the Glen Rose Rehab Hospital to run something called 3MDR. It's a multimodal intervention that people walk on a treadmill in front of a TV screen, and they walk in and through very brief exposures of their experiences that they've lived to help them get to the other side successfully and make it possible for them to work through it. So what we see are first responders who are often on the front lines dealing with the things that we ask them to do and sacrifice so much to do. Some of those experiences can leave a residue with them, memories with them, and experiences for them. So what we see in terms of the intervention when they go through 3MDR is their lives change. They can actually walk through things. They can experience recovery, and their symptoms from PTSD reduce. And we often see them be able to re-engage in their lives, in their relationships, in their families, and continue to do the work for all of us, the work that they love. So what we see is incredible things to help people stay the course and keep well.
So, Wilson, you've got the fundraiser going. The machine is being used now. More funds are always needed with this fashion show. What do people need to know about taking part in it?
Well, it is tomorrow night, 6 p.m. at Sherwood Motor Cars in Sherwood Park. And we have tickets still on sale. There's still some spots left. And when they come, just to have a good time. We have a bunch of our models are. It is a fashion show, but the trick is that the first responders are the models. So they
Why
model.
is it important to have them as the models?
You know what? It's pretty fantastic. That was the initial vision of it because, like I said, my story, how it all worked. I felt like there was a disconnect between them working as frontline workers and the general public. All they saw were terrible things all day long, right? The worst of the worst. And so I needed them to see that there were better people out there.
For sure.
There are good people that actually support them. And so I had them at this event. They can interact with those people, the general public that actually support them. And it's funny because one of our first years, one of the models was a police officer, and he's standing in the back, and he was probably like third or fourth up. And as the first responder walked out, the crowd started cheering, and he looked over and he was just like, is that for us?
Wow.
Right? So that is a big key to it, that they get to interact, they get to see that, right? It helps.
Be quite moving.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for coming in and for doing the amazing work that you've been doing, and keep it up.
Thank you for having us.
Wonderful. Thank you.
The event is tomorrow night. For more information and tickets, please visit the website firstfashionptsd.com.